Rob from 106.1 Kiss FM here with my broadcast colleague and my tag team partner podcast.
Hey, it's Eric Cornish here with WKDQ as we enter WrestleMania week. Of course, lots of big things going on, but because of some things that happened over the weekend, we're going to kind of veer off here and talk about that here at this point.
There was one news story that kept popping up in my news feed, something that people kept sharing with me and talking to me about, and this is a tragic yet very publicized story that happened over the weekend in Mexico.
Yeah, Tijuana, Mexico, at a crash show, I think it was, associated with AAA somehow, I believe. The son, El Hijo de Perro Aguayo, I believe is his name, tragically passed away during a match. In the match, was injured, that led to his death. And I think the reason that it's so highly publicized is this is one of the, if not the first match post WWE for Rey Mysterio.
I was going to say that the one reason why it got so mainstream attention, I would think, was because Rey Mysterio was not only in the match but also involved in this incident.
Yeah, I've heard, if you haven't seen the video, and you can look it up, it is kind of disturbing depending on what video you watch, just, how things kind of take a turn, but basically it's your typical setup for the 619. A drop kick to the back,
Was it from the top rope or just a normal drop kick?
It was. Have you not seen the video?
I've seen it linked but haven't hit it yet.
Okay. Well, basically, it first starts with the flying head scissors, and Aguayo goes to the outside. But he quickly gets back up and goes back in. So I'm not sure if an injury happened there when he hit the floor. But when he comes back in the ring, Mysterio gives him just a drop kick to the back, just a normal drop kick to the back, and he goes to the ropes. Like you would set up the 619.
Right.
Shortly after that, he gives a drop kick to Manic, the superstar who's in TNA, formerly known as Suicide. Kicks him to the back, and he falls down on the ropes too. Well, you can see when he hits the ropes, Aguayo is already on the ropes, and he is just very limp when Manic hits the ropes. And so Mysterio goes for the 619, completely misses, doesn't connect at all, and then it's obvious that something was supposed to happen in that spot that didn't. And after that, they kind of move on. Mysterio stops for a second and then goes back into working with Manic, and Conan, who's on the outside of the ring, is trying to revive Aguayo. And
by revive, you mean?
Basically, just take him off the rope, and he's kind of like smacking his face, moving his head.
Not like CPR kind of stuff?
No, but trying to be like, hey, wake up, in case he just got knocked out, which happens. But it basically, all of this is just become just one big tragic accident is
right.
What it is. And now the cause of death has come back as a stroke related to a cervical injury, so somehow he jarred his spinal cord enough, whether it was on the move to the outside or falling onto the ropes. Or the drop kick, but all of it looked fine. Yeah, there was nothing in there that looked out of the ordinary.
My understanding is that Rey Mysterio was not haphazard with this.
No,
he was
not at
professional.
Not at all.
It's unfortunate for him too, because he might get saddled with some of this, and probably unjustly.
And I'm not sure if this is just because it's in Mexico or what their law enforcement is doing, but I've even heard rumors, and this can't be true, that he could be charged with manslaughter or something like that. And there's no way that would hold. I mean, not in the U.S., so I don't know if this is. Yeah, I don't know.
It can all change when you cross the border or whatever. But that would be a shame, I feel like, because I don't think that. I mean, there was Bruiser Brody kind of stuff. Like, there's been times where people have been totally careless, or this is not one of those instances where someone was trying to hurt somebody. And you're right, the timing is crazy. I can't think of another match he's had since WWE.
I know he's made a couple appearances. He made an appearance for House of Hardcore with Tommy Dreamer and some things like that. But this is the first match that I've really heard of. And I mean, it's such a shame, not only for him, but everybody involved. I mean, this is just one of those things where you look at wrestling and go, these people are putting their lives in other people's hands and their own hands every single time they go in the ring. So something could always go wrong, and when it does, I mean, it's a horrible tragedy, but,
It's one of the highest profile in-ring deaths that we've had. It reminds me in some ways of Owen Hart.
Sure.
Owen didn't die in a match or because of a move, but because of a I'll say, a malfunction in
Sure.
a piece of equipment where he fell, obviously, in Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, and he died shortly thereafter that as well. This, it's a dangerous sport. We know that. It's a dangerous activity, but in some ways, I'm almost surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Yeah, I mean, I caught a blog after this happened of several, wrestling in-ring deaths. I think they had 13 or 14, but over time, a lot of them happened much longer ago. But when you consider WWE having the kind of doctor staff that they do now, despite what some people say, is actually a really good staff of doctors. Jerry the King Lawler could be dead at this point.
That's true.
Based on if they hadn't had the doctors. I think what I heard about this show was that it did have a staff of doctors, but they were tending to other injured wrestlers at the time. And didn't realize the severity of this. Again, if somebody just kind of goes limp in the ring, you assume, well, they just got their bell rung and they might have gotten down momentarily.
It's during their finishing spot, it sounds like, too, with the 619 going, so it could be really a long time until you realize something's wrong.
Yeah, so...
think about how much different the landscape is in a WWE locker room than it was 20 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
With, real doctors and, testing for juice and no chair shots and you got to be approved to do a pile driver, all sorts of crazy stuff in a much different... Because it's a much different company than it was 20 years ago.
So I guess my question to you would be, because of this and because of even going back to, whatever, 99 or whenever it was with Owen Hart...
Yeah, May 23rd.
Do you think, how do you think WWE is prepared, or are they prepared, in case something like this would happen at one of their shows or a big event? For example, you got WrestleMania coming up this Sunday. God forbid anything like that would happen at a WrestleMania, but at any show, do you think they're prepared to handle it differently than they did with Owen?
Well, I feel like for the most part, the WWE has always been doing pretty good with that. They've got real doctors, at least now, in the back. And even probably going back to WrestleMania 1, I'm sure there was probably medical staff in there because they had to even have approval for the Athletic Commission to be, in there. So I feel like they do a pretty good job. And even with Owen, they got him to the hospital immediately. They had an ambulance and stuff like that. So I feel like of all companies, they're well suited to handle this.
If something happened, let's
say
from a
PR standpoint.
Let's say someone passed during WrestleMania. Let's say there was a spot in a match, they had to stop the match, and before they could get this person to the hospital, they knew that they had passed away. Do you think they would go on with the show like they did with Owen?
It would depend. Okay, with Owen, the TV audience didn't see it happen.
Right.
So there's that. I don't know if they would handle that the same way. I guess I don't have any reason to think otherwise.
Yeah.
I think that Vince does not regret that decision in some ways, ending that show early over the edge of 1999. Do you think that they would?
I don't know. I think they've been criticized so often for the way they went on with the show, but gosh, I don't know. Especially with this coming out and highly publicized, death that happened this weekend. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's hope we never have to worry about that again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just kind of crossed my mind. I wondered what would happen there. But I certainly think again, thoughts and prayers go out to the family.
Absolutely.
Legendary wrestling family. His father, great wrestler in Mexico. But especially Rey Mysterio, coming off. You got to wonder. Hey, he tried so hard to get out of WWE.
And
he tried to
happens.
move on, and now it's going to be very hard to escape this. You got to wonder if maybe he wanted to, going back, maybe just stayed with the company and finished his career there.
Here's another question for you. Do you think this will impact his ability to go back?
It may.
It could.
This may just be his way of saying, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and call it quits and call it a career.
And he left on very strange terms.
Yeah,
I feel like, if for some really angry but out of place anger. I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just all around. I think
unhapphappiness.
Just odd terms.
Yeah, and he was someone who's always been pretty in good company.
Sure.
With them.
Yeah, but anyway, just a tragic situation altogether. So hopefully we can move on from this and maybe later in the week talk about more exciting things like WrestleMania and talk about getting closer to April, where we're going to give you a chance to win lots of tickets to the big SmackDown taping coming May the 12th.
In fact, I believe we'll have our official predictions for you on Thursday for WrestleMania. So please come back and join us. For myself, the Rob.
Hey, and I'm Eric Cornish. Have a good one, and happy WrestleMania.